Aloha. This video I wanted to go over how I built my bag. This will help people save a lot of time and a lot of money in narrowing down the decision making that's involved in putting a bag together that's comfortable for a beginner. When I was putting together my bag, my first place to start was the putters. Once I started to realize that it wasn't the discs that were determining my success level in the sport, it was how much I was dialing into my own rhythm. So my rhythm became the first and foremost thing that I needed to pay attention to and create. So I spent the first 6 months trying to find out what my rhythm was, what my speed was. Rhythm goes down to the feel of a disc. So like you have the texture, so the rhythm of your skin letting go of a disc, or that's a rhythm. We don't see it as rhythm like that, but that's an actual rhythm because you know when something feels off. So if you pay close enough attention, you can know when something feels on. The mind of success and the success rate in the sport can sometimes discourage us from our growth. So figuring out the best feel is the first step towards figuring out how to eliminate the barriers of what gets in the way of the subconscious mind. If something doesn't feel right, then it's going to affect the way you perform in however the smallest amount. That doesn't matter, because what matters is how many of those moments add up to eventually strokes and potentially injuries. One of the big things that determined whether or not a disc was going to make it into my bag was whether or not it had more than one tool to pull from. There's a lot to be said with having consistency in a putter, the same way there's a lot to be said for having consistency in a rhythm or a style. Having consistency in anything especially involving disc golf, having any kind of consistency in anything is going to help, because it removes a lot of the variables that will determine your success rate. The beauty of this sport is how complex it is. It really is based upon a focus level that is very real time. Once I chose my putters, I didn't really have any particular loyalty to any company or anything like that, and I didn't really feel the need to, but people would ask me all the time, what are you leaning towards? And in the beginning I was like, I don't think that matters. But after a while I found out that it can actually help your game, because like I said before, you're removing the variables by adding consistency. So there's a consistency that comes with challenging yourself to learn about the flight patterns of a particular type of disc, rather than getting a disc that will manage our inconsistencies. Once I got the putters down, my next step was to figure out which discs were already a staple in my bag. One of them was the Harp. It was very reliable. I can put something on it and get it out there. It has a reliable stability to it, and it just felt good in my hand. So the Zone replaced my Harp, and I didn't really have any kind of mid-ranges that were really I couldn't let go of. I was throwing the Verdict and I was throwing the Truth to learn the mid-range game. But once I got a buzz in my hand and I saw the flight path of that, the thing that sold me on the buzz was very similar to putters, long putters. I can throw that buzz pretty far out there, and it has a multi-purpose feel to it, to where I can turn it over, or I can put it on a hyzer and get it out there, or just throw it dead straight and it'll get out there too. So that became very quickly a staple in my bag because I could use it for a lot of different purposes. After I got comfortable with throwing the buzzes, that's when I started to look for something that would go left and something that would go right. I immediately found the Hornet because it just felt like an overstable buzz. I ended up leaning more towards the Soul because I like the speed of the Soul. I like the versatility of it. And then the bonus was when you put something on that Soul and you get it out there, there's a lot of glide to it. So the Soul ends up being a very reliable mid-range because of that flight. So I use the Soul for a turnover shot. Eventually I'll get an Archer, but as of right now, that's pretty much my mid-range game. This is my chair that I have. This, if you can tell, this opens up like, connects like this. This was one of my old Army chairs. I got it like the little Army store on base when I was in the Army. It had a camouflage thing as the seat, but it tore eventually. And my grandfather was a Leatherman, so he changed that and he made stuff that lasts forever. So yeah, that thing fits perfectly in my disc carrier. So I throw all the, I can't even see it. I carry around that disc carrier bag because none of the bags out there on the market feel comfortable to me. All of them have that little edge that digs in my back, and this was the only one that feels good on my back. It doesn't have the frame that digs into my back at all. It also had to be functional in a sense that I can carry around rain gear, a rain top and a rain bottom. Usually we'll carry around two water bottles, so the big ones, and another space, just enough room to maybe keep like a little peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something, maybe some sunflower seeds. So the way it's designed, when you adjust the straps when you're walking up here or walking downhill, you can adjust these straps and it'll help you maintain your balance. This bag overall has a better center of gravity than the majority of bags that are out there because of that factor, being able to either raise it or lower it based upon the type of elevation that you're walking on. When it came to the drivers, I didn't really have anything close to me other than the Tesla. The same way like the mid-range is finding something that'll be a little more stable, a little less stable, and something that is relatively straight. I went along with the Vulture to have something that would go a little straight but still have an overstable finish. Long distances, I went with the Zeus. Before all of those, I got the Raptor because the Raptor was a good replacement for the Tesla. Oh, and the Thrasher. The Thrasher was to replace my Shrike because I was using my Shrike as a roller. But I also wanted to figure out how to throw an understable distance driver a little more reliably. Another disc that I got was the Heat. Speaking of rollers, because the Heat is also a good disc to throw as a roller, and I'm getting ready to figure out whether I'm going to start throwing the Crank or the Force. I haven't put my hands on any of them yet, and I want to figure out or see how they're thrown first and talk to some people who already throw them. That will determine what I start looking for. Before I started throwing only Discraft, I had already bought a Star Corvette, and that disc is money. So that's pretty much how I built my bag. Just determining the putters, the approaches, the mid-ranges, the fairways, and the drivers. Starting out with how to throw the putters, because that'll determine which ones you want to get. So it'll save money from wasting money on drivers or putters or mid-ranges that you're not even going to throw. And my process was learn how to throw a putter, learn how to throw a putt and approach disc, learn how to throw a mid-range that goes left and right, and one that goes straight, and then learn a driver and a fairway that does the same thing, goes left and right and goes straight. After that, it was determining how each number of the flight pattern affects each disc. And once I had that down, that's what really helped me figure out which discs I wanted to build my bag with. It's more about how you throw it and less about the differences between particular discs. Removing a lot of the variables from the game helps with consistency in the game. It really is up to the individual to keep a lot of the mind parts of the game in the forefront of the game, because once you get that dialed in, it's really just a matter of maintaining consistency with the basics of the sport. Once you get your mind out of the game, you're not in your way anymore, so you can just let the rhythm of your practice, your muscle memory, and the rhythm and the fluidity of your normal flow, you just get out of the way of yourself. That's pretty much it.